Hi, everyone, family, friends, fans. Welcome to our live broadcast. Fine and I are here at our new Artiste Art Gallery, and we are really excited to present today's conversation that was recorded earlier in a webinar format that you will all get to see very soon. Today we have actress Mariel Hemingway and artist Nicola Carpinelli, plus other notable speakers live with us from various locations across the country.
Thanks, Anna. And yes, welcome everyone. I am so honored to introduce Mariel Hemingway and Nicola Carpinelli, coming to you live now, the co-founders of Dead Poets Foundation.
Thank you so much. Hi, Nico.
Hi, Mariel.
We're super excited. This is a very important day for the foundation. It is September 10th. That is World Suicide Prevention Awareness Day around the world. This is a global day to be aware of suicide, aware of the families that are left behind, aware of all of it, all of the mental illness that goes along with suicide prevention. So we're really happy to be a part of this, to be broadcasting this to you live today, and really digging into a conversation that we think is very important to have.
Yes, indeed. Thank you, Mariel. She is awesome, and we're so happy to be here. Like Mariel said, on World Suicide Prevention Awareness Day. We have a painting here, Ernest.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I think that's my grandfather.
Such an honor to paint such a wonderful man that had such influence in my life. So.
Well, and what's so great is Nico and I were brought together because he actually showed me his paintings through Instagram, and I saw that and I was stunned. And then I saw another painting of my sister, who I also lost from suicide. So it's really powerful, and our bond has grown since since learning
friends.
about that.
No, maybe not.
And also, I just want you to know that throughout this, conversation, because you're going to hear a pre-recorded conversation that we had already, but after that conversation, we want you to know that there's going to be a Q&A. So think of your amazing questions, write them down, and don't forget, because we are here to answer anything that might be pending, about anything in regard to suicide, mental health, mental illness. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Awesome. I also just wanted to quickly mention that at the end of the pre-record, we're going to have another live session, which will also include a Q&A. And also briefly that the reason that we filmed this show in lieu of a live fundraising event is due to COVID-19. We could not host and gather as we would have liked to, but we are very excited that we can all still be with you live today and take a broad spectrum of questions from across the country. I think in many ways there's actually a benefit to being virtual. For one thing, it's free for everyone to tune into and hopefully feel connected as much as we possibly can during these unprecedented times. So Mariel, why don't you get us started?
I'm going to get you started. I'm going to do something that you guys are all kind of aware that I do. And I do this for myself, but I also do this because I think that the mental health community is a community, and I want to kind of bring us together. So before we start this conversation, I'd like all of us to close our eyes and maybe put your feet on the floor so you actually feel your feet on the ground. Straighten your spine, close your eyes, and I want you to inhale and exhale. And inhale and exhale. And once again, inhale and exhale. And before you open your eyes, on this special day that we're here together, I want you to just imagine a light right at your heart center, right at the center of your body, right where your heart is. I want you to imagine a light, and with each inhale, that light is going to get bigger. So inhale the light bigger and make it expand so that it encapsulates your whole body. And exhale, with each exhale, I want you to get rid of anything that's no longer serving you. And then with each inhale, that light's going to get bigger. It's going to touch the person beside you. It's going to surround Nico, and it's going to surround the people that are in this group. And with each exhale, we're going to get rid of something that no longer serves any of us. And that inhale is again going to grow that light so that you feel as though that light has consumed the house that you're sitting in, the building you're sitting in, the state that you live in, the country that we live in, and then the world. I want you to see the world just surrounded by an incredible, golden, wonderful light that's just totally encapsulating that earth. And know that with that light, there will come to all of us a sense of peace, a sense of calm, and after our conversation today, a little bit more knowledge about what we've come here to talk about. And before you open your eyes, just think of one person that you're really grateful for. And then slowly open your eyes. So I do that so that we can all really come together in this conversation, kind of grounded. It puts everybody on the same level in some way. And now you're going to watch the pre-record that we did a few days ago and enjoy it. We're really excited about it.
Hi everyone, I'm Anna Rice. This is my husband Brian Rice, and we are coming to you today from Artiste Winery and Studio in Los Olivos, located in beautiful Santa Barbara wine country. Thank you for joining us today for our first ever virtual wine and art event in special collaboration with an amazing organization, Dead Poets Foundation.
We're really excited to have you here with us. Thank you so much for joining us. Artiste is a very special concept. We had our very first vintage in 2000, 20 years ago. And the original concept was your classic, Chardonnay, Pinot Noir, Cabernet style wines. But along the way, I discovered that blends were better. And that was truly my unique ability, was to create specialty blends that were inspired by the art on the bottles. The other exciting part about Artiste, the concept that I love the most, is collaborating with artists. The art that we see on the labels is actually what inspires the wine on the inside.
For today's show, you are going to hear from the founders of Dead Poets Foundation, as well as my husband Brian, master wine blender, and incredible artist Nicola Carpinelli. I would also like to add that we chose today's date, September 10th, because it is World Suicide Awareness Day. Thank you again for joining us. I would now like to introduce you to our first speaker, Mariel Hemingway, granddaughter of Nobel Prize-winning author Ernest Hemingway, award-winning actress, writer, and mental wellness advocate, Mariel Hemingway.
Thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
It is an absolute honor to be here. It's ironic that we are doing this in affiliation with this winery, because wine was such an enormous part of my family's life, but also my grandfather. It just was, I'm producing a show called A Movable Feast, which is based on my grandfather's book of the same name. So it took place in Paris, and his discovery of wine. So this is kind of very fitting, and your art being on the bottles is so extraordinary. So I'm here as one of the co-founders, along with Nicola, of the Dead Poets Foundation. And we created this foundation to bring not only awareness to suicide and mental health issues, mental illness issues, but also, beyond awareness, I think we are all very much aware that suicide, mental health problems are a growing and huge issue, not only in this country, but around the world. And probably because of COVID-19, it is growing. Suicide is along with the pandemic, is an epidemic. And that is a frightening sort of description of our time. And so we at the Dead Poets Foundation want to create space for people to feel safe. In mental health, what happens is for people that lose their lives, they have such a disconnect from the people in their lives, from family, from community, from the world. There's a sense of isolation and separation. And I think because of the time we're in, we all kind of get into a panic and we fall into that. So let me backtrack a little bit and tell you a little bit about my family. So I have an amazing family. My grandfather was Ernest Hemingway, one of the greatest writers of the 20th century, probably the 21st century, and probably many centuries to come. So I'm very fortunate to have come from a legacy of incredible artistry and talent and creativity. But along with that talent and creativity, there was mental illness. I think probably if my grandfather had lived during this time, he would have been diagnosed as bipolar or something of that nature. Anyway, I come from 7 suicides. My grandfather, Ernest Hemingway, committed suicide. His father committed suicide. My grandmother, Hadley, who was married to Ernest, her father committed suicide. A great uncle took his life. Another uncle, an aunt, a cousin, and my own sister, Margaux Hemingway, also took her life. So that is a legacy of not one that I'm, was in my life really excited to be a part of. In fact, it terrified me. My entire life was about like, how can I avoid this craziness that I come from. I made a documentary called Running from Crazy, which is really about my trying to discover why my family was the way they were, why they took their lives, whatever. You try to answer questions, and suicide doesn't have any succinct, definitive answers. I can tell you for myself that I think addiction was a big problem for my family, with drugs, with alcohol, just overdoing things. Another reason why I'm really happy that we're doing this with the winery is because there is a set, when you think of wine, you think of like taste and moderation and doing things with a sense of joy and ritual. And when things lose that feeling is when they get into addictive behaviors, and that's not about enjoying the pleasures of something that is great on our planet, but that's when that's when you take things to an extreme because you're trying to cover up pain. So anyway, I come from this family of tremendous creativity and joy and wonderfulness, but I also come from this family of tremendous pain and darkness. And I spent a lifetime trying to push that away. I spent a lifetime of thinking, well, I'll be the healthiest person on planet Earth, and I've dieted every way, I've exercised every different kind of way. I've followed gurus all around the world. I've done all kinds of things in search outside of myself, ways that I can prevent my own self from being haunted by what I didn't realize was actually within my purview to control, to handle, to make a difference from. And it's why I joined with Nicola. I wanted to create a foundation where people knew there was a safe place, because we want to create programs where you can come and you can do art, you can express yourself, you can meet with a therapist, you can do, there are lots of different solutions to mental health issues. And I say solutions because many people will like, hey, don't say that. But I do believe that through lifestyle, through knowing yourself, through knowing your story, it's why I tell my story a little bit. I'm only going to tell that brief bit of it, only so that you know that that deep dive into what our story is part of what unleashes the ability to find a solution, to find recovery. And I think people don't realize that there is a solution through telling your story, through realizing that we are connected. So my mental health issues are connected to a lot of people on the planet. It's not just because I come from a famous family of whatever. I mean, there are people all over this country right now who are suffering in silence, not realizing that we can all join hands and rise up and kind of overcome this through our different communities. Back to my story. Back to me. Can we talk about me? No, I'm just kidding. Sadly, we are. No, but so I'm getting back to my story because I want to tell you a little bit more about the journey of like self-discovery. It's a long one. For me, it's incredibly too long. Like I think I discovered myself in my late 40s. Now I'm in my late 50s. How did it happen? But anyway, it was really good because in that self-awareness of years of reaching outside myself, and that's kind of why I tell my story still, is I think that a lot of us on their journey of trying to be a better person, to be a healthier person, to be a more balanced person, we reach out to things, people, solutions, diets, exercise, whatever, you know, like something online. We do all these things in search for an answer that actually lies within us. And it doesn't mean that all those things, because I've learned so much through yoga and the different gurus I've followed, and trust me, I've done a lot of weird stuff. I've learned so much from all of it. But what I really learned, and I'm going to tell you a story about going to India. This was kind of my final sojourn into following somebody. But and when I tell you I've followed a lot of people, you just don't want to know how many. Put dots on my head. I've sweated in sweat lodges. I've screamed primally in weird places. And but anyway, I went to India on this final time, and I met His Holiness the Dalai Lama. And he was in Dharamsala because he cannot go to, he can't be in Tibet. So I had met him before, but this was like a private audience. And it was several years ago. Again, I was in my 40s. I can't believe that was several years ago. But anyway, there I was, and this private audience with him and with myself and like 10 people. So it wasn't private. It wasn't like me and His Holiness hanging out. But all these people were really erudite, incredible intellectuals, and they had great questions to ask of His Holiness. And I was just super happy to be there. And His Holiness sat down right next to me, and he looked at me and recommended that I sit next to him, and I was just like tripping because I got to sit next to him. And through the entire talk, and this is important, I observed a man listening with his whole being. And I think really the core issue in mental health problems is the fact that people don't feel listened to. And I watched a man take in everybody's question, and they would go on kind of like I'm going on, talking about their stories. And he, with such generosity and compassion, you've heard about his compassion, listened and took them in as though they were the only person in the room. They were everything. And I watched this man listen for an hour and a half. He listened, he would say things, but it wasn't so much what he said. It was how he held space for those people to be heard. And that was just so interesting to me. And the time was up, and he would look over at me and he would giggle and smile, and I would giggle and smile back. And I was just, this is so cool. I'm having an unspoken conversation with His Holiness. And I started to get up like this out of my chair, and he put his hand on my hand. And he looked me in the eye and he said, "You're okay." And in that moment, I realized that I was. And I realized that this fear of me going crazy or me taking my life and not being there for my daughters, I realized that it was all just part of a story. And I realized in that moment, and the unfoldment of that realization was years to being here right now, and the understanding that I am okay. I am okay, but also everybody else is. So all the people who might come across moments of depression, we all do, and it doesn't mean you're mentally ill, but we all have moments of anxiety, depression, fear, whatever. And knowing that actually those answers about who you are and how to live your life are in you, and that we're all okay. That was a profound unfoldment for me, because that's when my life started to be about, oh, wait a second. I know what's right for me. I don't need a guru, a doctor, a exercise program, a food program, a this, a that, whatever. Not that all those things aren't part of what makes me a balanced person. But the greatest part of me knowing that I'm okay is that I know that I'm okay because I can feel it inside. It sounds like a little bit esoteric, but I can tell you, honestly, it's the truth. We all are the orchestrators of our own life. We all have the answers for what makes us tick. And so Dead Poets is a foundation that I want to be about empowering people to know that they are, number one, not alone. This journey is not alone. Whether we're going through a pandemic or an epidemic of suicide or mental illness or whatever it is, whatever we have to be challenged by, we are not alone in this. We're all going through it. I mean, if this craziness of 2020 doesn't tell us that, I mean, what else does? We are more joined now than ever, even though there is so much separatism and, political this and that and whatever. And I don't care what anybody's beliefs are. I care about your heart. And so Dead Poets is about, let's create space for you to find what makes you feel okay, so that you can have that aha moment where you go, gosh, I can be better because I'm already okay. I just need a couple of guides and by the way, I'm saying all this, it doesn't mean you don't need help, because we do. Some people need therapy, some people need psychiatrists, some people who have severe mental health problems need medication. But it's all about understanding your environment, yourself. It's not an outside thing. So let's all go inside and just know that we have the answers. So thank you so much for letting me yammer on.
That's awesome.
Wow. Wow is all I can say, Mariel. Thank you so much. Your authenticity is truly contagious.
Well, thank you.
I can feel it. I'm inspired by it. I want you to be my guru. Maybe I can follow you. I've always wanted to follow a guru. I haven't, but I'm just going to start following you.
Trust me, I've done it for you.
Oh my gosh. Okay, good. Well, thank you so much. I think we have all been touched or affected, I should say, by mental illness, suicide. I doubt there is not one person in this entire world that has not been affected in some way. I've been very affected in my own family. I've lost a family member to drug addiction and overdose. I've actually witnessed a suicide.
Oh, wow.
So I think, true to your point and what you're saying, we are all connected. We are all one. And thank you for bringing that to light today.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. So, without further ado, I would now like to introduce you to my husband, soulmate, business partner, Brian Rice, master wine blender, and artist and co-founder of Dead Poets Foundation, Nicola Carpinelli. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much, Anna. Thank you, Brian. It's such an honor to be here on World Suicide Awareness Day. A topic that is very close and dear to me. I was a child that at 12 years old, I began to formulate a plan to end my life. So teen suicide is the second leading cause of death in this country. So it's a topic that's I'm very passionate about. And I know for me, art saved my life. And I think it can help others as well. Like Mariel was saying, we all have there are all different solutions to this, right? So, so anyways, it's a very great honor to be here and to be a part of this beautiful winery.
Well, we're honored too to have you here. You've come from Oregon to be with us. And, it's a long trek. And to be able to work with your art from a winemaker's perspective to create a wine around what I saw in these characters that we eventually put on the bottles.
So good.
It's just been amazing. And I have to tell you, this is the first time that I've made wines in the way we made them because of your art. The characters in the pieces, they're all made up of the same stuff, right? We're all made up of the same stuff, but they're blended a little differently, right? So that's the underlying theme for this particular joint venture between you and I is each of the characters on here are unique, just like my blends. So each of the blends is a response to their character. Wow. And for instance, with Margaux, it's a Grenache heavy blend. It's very floral, it's very soft, it's very sumptuous. With Hemingway, we did a much more heady kind of Cabernet blend.
Strong.
A very powerful blend, right? And that's his character.
Yes.
And then with Chris Cornell, we ended up doing something that just screamed because he's a voice, right? He's
love.
4 octaves, they say, in his ability. And,
one of the most amazing voices.
And we really wanted to capture that intensity in the wine. And so there's this really loud, scream of Malbec as the base in the blend.
Wow. Well, I bet he would have loved this. Loud Love was one of his great songs and one of my favorites. And every time I finish a text, I write Loud Love to people.
Nice.
Chris was an amazing guy. I had the pleasure of meeting him a few times. I was really good friends with the rest of the band in Soundgarden, and it was, in fact, Ben is one of a big collector of my work, and so there's.
It sounds like you had a big musical background and now you're painting. Are you still playing?
I still play a little music, but I'll bounce around from medium to medium. Like when I get bored with something, or I'll move to sculpting, or I'll do music. Definitely another passion of mine. I think like you with wine, it's a bit like painting, right? Like your flavors are kind of like paint, represent color, exactly. And it's just the same with music. You kind of it just translates, like it's notes and all that. So
Speaking of that, notes, we describe our wines, our wine notes, and we describe them aromatically and taste-wise and how it looks. And so I figured this would be a great time to make our own little wine notes for these wines. What do you say?
Absolutely.
You try one of them?
Yeah, I would love that.
I say we start with Margaux. So this is a blend of Grenache, Malbec, and Cabernet Sauvignon. Okay. And as I said, the other 2 wines are blended with the same varietals, but slightly blended differently. And this one, because it's based in Grenache,
thank you.
has a much more soft, floral characteristic in the nose.
So show me how you do this properly.
Oh, the swirl sniffing, in our case, will be...
So we do this properly.
Here we go. So you just go counterclockwise, which if you're in northern hemisphere, you go counterclockwise. Well,
I come from Italy, so I think it's backwards.
Yeah.
No.
Cheers.
Salud. Salud. Well, let's go. You're right. I taste the flower. I taste like a bouquet of flowers. That's beautiful.
See, so the synesthesia of wine
Wow.
has been kind of misinterpreted for a long time, and we have realized in the last 250 wines that we've made for Artiste that you can start to taste color, and some people think you can taste sound, and you can hear taste.
Wow.
And so they're starting to do psychological studies of all of this, and that's why it's been very gratifying for me to realize like there's actually a science behind these convergence of different senses.
Yeah.
And so when you're tasting and smelling, those are senses that we take for granted. We don't really exercise them very much.
Yeah.
You know, when you're smelling with your eyes closed, you can start to see different colors. And
Wow.
so when I look at a painting, I notice that there is a real kind of peach color going through all three of these pieces. And I knew, so when I was creating these blends, and I worked really closely with another winemaker partner of mine, Michael Seguin from Cayena Winery. He helped kind of collaborate with me in the blending process, which I love collaborating with winemakers too.
Yeah.
I realized like there's got to be this one unifying flavor profile, but I want them all to be completely distinct from each other. And that's these characters on the labels.
Wow. Well, that's an amazing thing. Maybe we could switch mediums. You know, and I want to try making wine. Maybe one day I'll paint with just wine. You know, that would be fun.
I know a guy who could supply you with paint.
Is that right? Okay. All right. Let's do it. Yeah. You.
So tell me more about here. Cheers.
Salud.
Tell me more about the foundation.
Well, the Dead Poets Foundation formed kind of organically. Myself and Mariel Hemingway, or Mariel Hemingway and myself, should I say, did this art show in Bend, Oregon. Beautiful little town that just so happens to have one of the leading suicide rates in the nation. So I put together these paintings, as you see, Chris Cornell. The first one I painted was Anthony Bourdain, who to me was Miles Davis cool.
Yeah.
Like, just, I love that guy.
Yeah.
I just, you know, the passion and how he was kind of teaching us, instructing us, right? This way of living.
How to live, right?
Right. So when he passed, I just had to paint him. I don't know, it just got me in the studio, and I wanted to remember him, but like how I saw him. So I created this one here, Hearts Unknown, which is our theme of our show here.
Right.
And then I just said, you know what? You know, Chris was another one that impacted me, you know, so I went and painted him. And as I was talking to a friend of mine, who's an art professor at Dartmouth, he said, wow, this is a show, you know? And I said, Dead Poets, you know? And when I did the show, I contacted Mariel and I sent her the images. I said, look, I painted your beautiful sister and your grandfather. And Mariel was just so moved. She's like, this is amazing. I want to be involved in this, you know, event. So we knew we had something special, you know, that we were, you know, somehow suicide tends to get swept under the rug. People don't want to talk about it. It's like cancer was like 30 years ago, right? Like nobody, you know, it could be contagious. And I think something about the art made it palatable for people to come. And, you know, when people throw events that like it's suicide show, it's just, you know, when you're suffering from those feelings, it's hard to go to a place that's the title of the show. Mm-hmm. So somehow we kind of took people's guards down. So we had young, old, we had people of all ages. We had little kids, 6, 7 years old. Older people, like the older generation, which said, you know, like they would ask questions like, you know, what do I do with this? Like, you know, my son committed suicide. What do I do with those emotions? Mm-hmm. And that's a typical question from that the older generation, you know, like they don't know, they feel embarrassed.
It's hard to understand.
It's hard to understand. But anyways, the main idea of it was to be able to speak about it openly. You know, we need to talk about it. We cannot, we have to communicate. We have to be able to recognize the signs. So what I did in this show, which is what Dead Poets is doing, is involving different type of organizations like QPR, which is question, persuade, refer. It's recognizing those suicidal ideation, suicidal thoughts in the household, in the workplace. Knowing what to say, you know, is a big thing. When you have a friend that, if you've ever had a friend that's like really down and depressed, and you don't know what to say, you know. And like with me, when I was a kid, my dad used to say things like, "Quit being so dramatic. You're so dramatic." It was the worst thing you could say. What people need is someone to listen. Just listen. You don't have to solve their problem for them, but they just want someone to hear. And I'm sorry, I get a little emotional when it comes to this because, again, it's so near and dear to my heart. And I'm just glad I had this outlet. You know, not too many people do, but you know what? We all have those abilities, like you through your wine. We all have to, or cooking, whatever it might be, whatever that looks like to you. I implore you to create. It's so important. That was my release.
No, it's a tough topic. It's a tough topic. A controversial topic, and for us as a winery, at first being in the alcohol business, it was a little bit uncomfortable. I didn't feel like it was appropriate, and then I realized, well, if we don't do it, who is going to do it? And by collaborating with you, and Mariel, I felt that this is now something I could talk to anybody about and not feel insecure about it.
That's the idea, just to open up the dialogue. It's like I want to go into high schools and junior highs and speak on this and teach kids free expression, like to just cut loose. You know, children are the best. The little kids, you know, like you see these drawings that they make, they don't care about what, you know, what you think of how they, you know, drew a tree or a house. But as we get older, we get encumbered, right? We get, what are they going to think of what, you know? Yeah. It's so key. And so that's the idea, is to go into like high schools, junior highs, colleges.
Educate them early.
Educate them, and then also, you know, be there to listen to, you know.
Interesting. That's what, you know, Mariel was saying, is being listened to, completely listened to is something they need, everyone needs. So I'm listening to you right now.
And we're okay, and that you're okay.
Yeah.
You know, I love that. You know, she's such an amazing person. But we're having a really, really wonderful time being in service, because it's about that. There's 3 things you need to know in life. You know, 1, be grateful. Be grateful, say thank you. 2, how can I help? How can I be of service, right? And you know, the 3rd is to create. Thank you.
To create. And that helps you work through it.
Work through it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
This is great.
I appreciate you being so open about it, especially with our viewers.
My
we
pleasure.
have many club members who are watching this show, and they've been our biggest supporters for many, many years.
Yes.
And they'll be happy to hear this story and obviously hear about the new wines that are coming out. Those of you who are Ernest Hemingway fans, this is a first. I've always wanted to do a wine revolving around Hemingway, and you gave me the excuse. I've been so excited. His literature is amazing. Amazing writer, but I didn't realize his life story was so dramatic. I never really studied his story. What a dramatic, a bon vivant, you know, world traveler, had multiple accidents, freak accidents happen to him along the way that put him into a tough situation mentally. And yet he produced so many beautiful things.
I think, you know, as artists, we kind of like the drama, the crazy experiences. It helps with your art, because we can fall asleep sometimes in this world. I mean, didn't COVID, like when this happened, at first it was such a shock, but it also, I think we're about to see some of the best music and art ever in this period. It allowed us all to introspect, see what we were doing wrong. We got kind of lazy. I mean, everything was at our fingertips, right? We had our social media, we had any information, we can Google it, right? Yeah. And we were kind of falling asleep. And this like said, wake up.
That's so interesting.
Wake up and look at what you're doing wrong. Look at, you know, maybe you weren't spending time with your kids, right? Or maybe you didn't go see mom at, you know, at the home or wherever. Or it did for me. I really, it was in fact, I had such beautiful moments. Sometimes I was in tears just because it was so silent, right?
Yeah.
Like it was a great opportunity. But
and it's a mindset for a lot of people. You know, you're blessed that you've been able to switch it to this is a positive, where so many people don't know how to do that, and they're actually going down the other direction.
And they're going down the other direction. It's so true. So this is
Ernest
so this is
Hemingway. Here's to
Ernest.
Ernest.
All right.
For our viewers and wine club members who are excited to get this in the mail, we produced a rosé, a sparkling rosé, Pinot Noir.
I love this one.
Tell us about this piece and how different it is from all of your other pieces, which, you know, normally you've featured people who've committed suicide, but what's the story with the roses?
Well, for me, rose is like the universal symbol of life, light, and love. And again, going to these spaces, painting these paintings of, you know, suicide victims, I needed to be uplifted. And I felt that the world right now needed to be uplifted. I feel like a flower is just like a transcendent symbol. And it represents life and celebration and creation.
Yeah, it's
for a wedding, for a...
In contradiction to suicide, we were like, we need to actually make this more positive and spin it into something that's celebratory.
Right.
And so Anna, my wife, she said, we have to put the rose on the sparkling wine, of course.
Well, thank you, Anna.
But yeah, I actually watched a grown man cry when he saw one of your rose paintings. He was very moved by it. And so you can affect people in ways you don't even realize, you know, as an artist. As a winemaker, I get people calling all the time saying, oh my God, we had a bottle of your wine the other night and we were just floored by how good it was. And it was a really meaningful bottle because we bought it, you know, with my parents and now they passed. And, you know, there's just so much we don't even realize, the fabric of life that ties together and weaves all of this together with art and wine.
Wow. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you so much. We're honored to have you, Nico.
Thank you so much.
And all of our fans and club members are very grateful to have your beautiful artwork on our bottles. So,
Salute.
Wow. I think a little bit of magic just happened between Nico and Bayan. That was incredible. Thank you so much for letting us all into your world of arts.
All right, well, I want to thank you all for tuning in to experience this with us virtually for the first time ever here at Artiste in Los Olivos. I've personally learned a great deal from our speakers, and I want to thank them all for being a part of this and coming from a far way to be here with us. I want to remind all you viewers, club members, and fans of Artiste that you can buy our wines on artiste.com. And you can buy by the bottle or by the case. We always, of course, recommend by the case. And we're donating a portion of the proceeds back to this amazing foundation, deadpoetsfoundation.org. Please tune into their organization online as well to learn more about them. And again, thank you so much for tuning in to be a part of this. We appreciate your support of our small family winery.
I'm super excited. That really was kind of fun.
That was really fun.
Sitting there watching you drink. What's going on? What is going on?
I know. No.
Anyway, I want to talk a little bit about our foundation, which we created together, which I was really honored that you had the idea to have me come up to Bend, Oregon and do this thing with you. And then he called me one day and he said, you know, I think we should start a foundation. It he was like really nervous. Would you really be interested? Like, I don't know. I was like, of course I would, because, you know, for me, the arts, and it just, to me, thinking about this foundation and thinking about what we can do through the arts, how we can help people to express themselves, whether it's through painting or poetry. I was telling my friends here in the room about writing a poem for my daughter the other day, who was, you know, she's being challenged right now, like so many people are. And the action of, you know, and I'm sure for you, it's just profound. And my daughter is an artist, and you've seen some of her work.
She's
but,
amazing.
you know, and that is such a profound kind of, it really changes her.
It's such an important thing. I mean, our society has, it's almost like we've kind of grown away from the arts. Like we all, you know, drew as kids, painted.
And thought we were amazing.
And we thought we were amazing. Well, you know, but somehow, you know, society has kind of told us that, you know, only these gifted individuals can do it. And I'm telling you that you have a right to say, I am here. And that's what you can do through your art, is whatever it is, however you express yourself. It's very important that you make your mark and tell future generations your story.
Yeah, and that's one of the things we'd like to do in the foundation. That was beautiful. Thank you. Made me a little crying. But that's what we'd like to do with the foundation, is really provide a space, provide an environment where people can use art in whatever form they see that as, and creating space for that to express themselves. Because I am a big believer, as you know, because I sat there telling my story for a very long time, that telling our story is the first, you know, it's kind of the first step towards finding your recovery, that special thing that works for you. That leads me to want to talk about the importance of mental health professionals. Yeah. It's so incredibly important that we honor them, and it's just critical. So we have a very special guest right now. He is a emergency room social worker, and he's on the front lines. He's one of our people who is out there talking to people who are, oh my God, I'm getting a little emotional about it, but he's talking to people who are going through this now. You know, our world is just not the same as it used to be. And we have an amazing man, and I want him to tell, you know, Robert Howe is here, and he's here to tell us, you know, Robert, can you answer some questions for us? I mean, there's just so much going on right now, and maybe is there a resource that we can reach out to during this incredibly difficult time for so many people?
Absolutely, there is. And so there's local resources, there's national resources. And so two resources that I will provide right now are, the first off, the National Crisis Text Line, which is, you text hello to 741-741. And it's a way of communicating via text instead of talking to someone over the phone. I like this resource because it makes things less scary. And then there's also the National Suicide Prevention Hotline, which is 1-800-273-TALK or 1-800-273-8255. And then also you can look for local resources if you go into your Google browser and you do 211, which will bring up a resource guide for your community so you can find more specific resources, or to your county mental health provider.
Well, that's amazing. Again, for the, what is it, for hello 741-741 to the crisis, the text that to the crisis hotline. Hello, yep. 741-741. I think that's so incredibly important. And of course, the American Suicide Prevention Foundation, I've spoken for them many, many times. They're very powerful. They have a walk, a walk out of darkness that they do every year, and in all the different cities around the country. It's a profound organization. So those are two. Thank you for that, Robert. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your service. Yeah.
Yeah. And is there anything else that you would like to share with us that you feel is really important for people to know, especially right now?
You know, just the one thing I would like to say, the first time suicide was studied, I believe, was in 1897 by a French sociologist named Emile Durkheim, and he talked about one of the leading causes was through social disconnection. And the reason I liked everything that you all had to say tonight was because you talked about creating an inclusive space for people. Because unfortunately, we have lots of resources, but there's always exclusionary criteria. And so if we can create more systems and more agencies and organizations for people to connect, then we see the likelihood of suicide decrease, especially amongst our adolescents.
That is amazing. And yes, because that really is what Dead Poets is about, is creating that resource of community where you can find your community within your community. So yeah, it is so important. And that's amazing that there was a study so long ago about that social disconnect. And, no wonder people are freaking out because of the social distancing. We can't come together. I had a friend on the phone today say to me, I am just so sick of it. She said, I want to tear the mask off and I just want to go hug people I don't know. It's just this, humans want to touch other humans. We want to have social interaction. So thank you for that. I appreciate it. Is there anything else you'd like to share with us? I know that you have scrubs on and you're on the way to, I don't know, you're on call. So thank you for that.
Yeah, I'm in the back of the ER right now.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much, Robert. Really good to, thank you.
Bye.
Well,
yeah,
I want you to tell us a little bit about your story.
Oh.
Just a little, I would like you to, just tell me a little bit why. I mean, I know you explained it in the video, but explain to me why you think it's so important for this to happen. Because I know you have a personal experience with suicide, with depression, with anxiety, with addiction, all of it.
Yeah, no,
right?
My story started at 12, like I was saying in earlier. But several times God has saved my life. I was fortunate enough to have a way to express. I had taken a dark road back in 2003, and we came out the other side. Thank God, and I'm here standing before you. I was depressed. I was suicidal. But I flipped it. And
you flipped it.
And
the great news is you are here and you're doing something with it. There's nobody that understands a cause better than somebody who's felt it in their soul. I know what it's like to be depressed. I know what it's like to be suicidal, and it is. But when you come out the other side and there's a solution, whether it's a spiritual belief, a religious belief, a this, a that, a therapist, somebody comes along in your life that is that gift. And we at the foundation want to become that gift. Now, that leads me to, I really want people to get their questions and answers. I really want you to put your questions in.
I have one more guy I want to introduce, and he was at our bench.
No, I know that. I just wanted to make sure that everybody knew that Q&A was happening. And that Tracy was going to get after that. It's going to be after your introduction, which is now. That's happening now. I'm throwing it to you. You're introing now.
Well, she's very good at this stuff. I'm a man of few words. I like to speak through my artwork. I could paint you a webinar, but I couldn't. I can't actually do it. No,
you're doing great.
No, this next gentleman is. I have the pleasure of meeting him after the show. He came to the show. He has this beautiful story to tell after our show in Bend, Oregon, and. I'm going to introduce him now. His name is Michael Bjornstad. Michael, are you there?
I am, Nicola. Can you hear me okay?
There he is. Hi.
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 Thank you for being on.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. It's the day that the show was coming up was a rough day for me, honestly. It was hard to know whether or not I was going to make it until the moment that I did make it to the show. And it was funny because I I really just wanted to be around my people, you know, and people that would at least understand. And I didn't find out I would have the opportunity to buy the Cornell painting until later, but at the show itself, having that experience and having everyone standing around, and there was this lingering question going on there about what to say to someone who has either recently attempted, or someone who is a survivor, either someone who has survived an attempt, or someone who has a family member who has not survived an attempt, or any of those things. And that lingering question was just sitting there, and it was really important that I spoke to it, I felt. And so I raised my hand, which is not typically what I do. And just said, you know, I think it's really important that we let people know that we're glad they're here, because it's really important that people know that people are glad to see them. And I know, having struggled with that my whole life, with suicidal ideation and all of that stuff, having that ability, having that knowledge that other people care about your presence is so crucially important. So,
Michael, thank you
yeah,
for being here.
Yes.
We're really
Thank you.
glad you're here, and thank you for that. Again, I'm crying again.
Michael is an amazing writer and a poet as well. So he has his expression, and I enjoy your work on Instagram. And thank you, Michael, for.
Thank you, Nicola. I appreciate that. And of course, you know, I enjoy yours as well. And Mariel, I've enjoyed you for years as well. Thank you so much for both of you just being there.
Thank you. For those of you that don't know, I actually met Michael before at the event that we had in Bend, where we first met, and it was extraordinary because you really did get up at a time that you could tell that you were kind of on very shaky ground at that moment. And I believe, I'm a big believer that when you give space to somebody to just say, I'm here, like you were saying, and start to tell their story, that's the, you know, that's the solution. That's part of your solution. That's, you know, that's us embracing you. So that's really great. And also, I think what's extraordinary is when somebody's suffering, that they want to buy the art, you know, they want to buy this painting of my grandfather because they have a relationship with that. So there's something to be said for that. And I think the foundation, we had talked about having a thing where we get a social media type thing where you invite people to bring their art into, and we'll, I don't know, I don't want to say judge it, because there's no judging art, but but we want you to know that there's a place that we can, that you will be shown. Now, Tracy, our wonderful producer, do you have any questions for us from our amazing people that have shown up this evening?
Hi there, I do. There's a couple of good ones. So there was a question from Lisa saying, it was a comment first saying, Anna, thank you for stating that we are all connected, and that's her go-to in difficult times. It's a healing belief she holds. She wants to know, how do we spread this belief, and is it part of the Dead Poets Foundation mission statement?
So I'm going to answer that, because absolutely. The reason why I do a lot of meditation when I do speaking is because that meditation is designed to create connectedness. It's designed to bring us together into the same energetic field. But connectedness is what we need. I mean, Robert Howe expressed that this social disconnect is what is destroying people, and what we need is a connection. So yes, that's what the foundation is about. And thank you, Anna, and thank you, Lisa, for bringing that up again, because yes, it's so incredibly important. Being connected and knowing that you have a community that you can connect with, that will understand your dialogue without judgment and just listen.
Thanks. Kate had a question, wondering if any of the guests or panelists have used journals to help them through stressful times.
Absolutely. I'm writing all the time. Sometimes I just write in my paintings as well, you know. But yeah, that's a very important thing is to see the words on paper. And it's almost immediate. Like you'll see an immediate quality of life improve after you draw or write something down or paint or whatever it is or cook or whatever it is you express yourself through.
Yeah, I think that rituals such as writing, I've been journaling for years and years and years, and oftentimes you'll start out and think, gosh, I'm saying the same thing, and all of a sudden over a little bit of time it shifts and you're actually saying things that are in you, and you almost don't, it's almost like you're not thinking of them, you're writing you're writing them out. And I think journaling is a profound tool to help balance your brain.
I agree. I'd just like to add that I've been journaling, gosh, for probably about 5 years. It's really become a big part of my daily practice along with meditation. But for me, journaling, it's that other voice. Sometimes you can't voice everything with your actual voice. And you find that voice in writing. So it's really healing.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Great, thank you. Somebody is asking, as a survivor and somebody interested in going into art therapy, does Nico, Mariel, or our clinician have any advice?
As an artist? And how do you, I need to understand the question for myself. Is that
I think it's about art therapy and its effect in helping somebody with depression.
Yeah, like I said, just paint. You'll walk on clouds, draw, whatever it is however you express. It's just important to express it. You'll see your quality of life improve immediately after you do it. For me, I wake up, I'll paint all night long. And then sometimes, your emotions get away from you, and you paint and you go to sleep and you wake up and it's like a Christmas day, it's like, it's so exciting. And I wake up every morning beaming, it's really the best thing you could possibly do for me, at least. Of course, there's all kinds of solutions to this.
Well, I want to also share with you, my daughter is an artist as well, and she sometimes can suffer from depression, and she lost her father last year. And it was obviously really, really tough. But we were talking about it the other day, and she's taken like a theme around her father's death. And it's not, paintings of her father, but it's around that sadness. And it's actually a place for her to place that sadness. And she says it's profound at what it's doing to her. And I want to get her involved in the foundation. Just let
Please,
you know.
No, yes, let's bring her in. Absolutely. Cool. Any other?
One last one from Brian, who first of all says it's a wonderful event and is curious about how the social events occurring with BLM and LGBTQ are influencing Dead Poets Foundation with outreach and resources.
I can't speak to other organizations and other movements, but I know that this movement has been a passion of mine for so many years. And I think that we just want to focus on creating space, creating help, and giving a voice to people that feel isolated and alone. I think that's one of the most important things that we can do. And thank you for saying it's a nice event.
Thank you for saying that, yeah. Sure.
And now I would like to introduce she's been a friend of mine for such a long time and really like a sister to me. Melissa Yamaguchi, she's also part of our foundation, and we're just super excited to have you be an organizer and a woman that we trust beyond belief in all matters.
Even though you may not necessarily should trust me.
No. Oh, we can trust you.
We can trust
Well,
her.
Thank you for having me here. And I think the number one thing for me as a board member of the Dead Poets Foundation is to share this with you, the viewer. We are a resource, and we want to be a resource for you and your family, your loved ones. We have explored through our different various levels of work, Mariel most intensely, explored the country with different organizations, different foundations, different resources for help in suicide prevention, in addiction, anxiety, depression, any mental illness, and any mental or wellness issues. So we want to be that source for you. And our online classes, our art therapy expression through art is a huge part of who we are, through Nico and his work, and Mariel's daughter eventually, and you eventually. So I want to say to you, there's not one of us in this country that isn't touched on some level by one of the topics that matter to us as a team. And if this appeals to you, if it appeals to you because you directly are suffering, or if it appeals to you because a family member that you love has been touched, then please find it in your heart, take a moment to reach out to Dead Poets Organization, deadpoetsfoundation.org, and look us up. Make us one of your notes on your resource list. And if you have it within your means, if in your heart, please consider giving. Help us help others. Be a part of our movement to save others. We thank you for your consideration.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thanks, you guys. There's one more question before we wrap it up. And David said, first of all, he loved your comment, Mariel, about the answer being within you, and wanted to know if you had any advice on getting away from mental illness and suicide being a legacy if it's within your family.
Oh my God, thank you so much for this question, because, you know, my entire life I was so afraid that I would end up like not making it or something, like it was a virus. And, I don't mean that with a pun. Yes, the answer to your question is yes, there is a way out, you know, because I can honestly say, because of having told my story, having found people that I can speak to that heard me and heard what I had to say and held space for me, I was able to move through that. And actually, I can honestly tell you, I don't fear that. I don't fear like I'm gonna go crazy. And that doesn't mean that I don't have days where I'm depressed or things cause anxiety, because we just live in a crazy time, and there are days when everybody feels it. But I can honestly tell you that it's not an issue for me. And I think because I was able to unlock that from myself, I feel like, and maybe this is just hopeful, but I don't think so, I feel like I unlocked it for my girls. And that was very important to me as a parent. But I can't express to you how important it is to know that it is not a sentence just because other members of your family have taken their lives or whatever, because it doesn't mean that it has to happen to you. But mental health is about taking responsibility for that mental health. And that comes through the lifestyle choices that you make, through the everyday things that you do, whether it's physical, mental, emotional. That, you know, physical for me, it's exercise, it's water, it's eating good food, it's the thoughts that you think, it's meditation, it's journaling, it's whatever you need that creates balance in your life, because that's the first step of you finding your solution. And you've got to be part of the solution. You know, we live in a society that we sort of think that somebody's going to come along with this perfect pill and give us an answer. And it's just a tapestry of different things that we have to put together to create a wellness that works for us as an individual. And at deadpoetsfoundation.org, we want to be that resource that says, oh, I could go in that direction. Oh, maybe I could go here. You know, whatever it is, there's not one size fits all. This is a journey for all of us. And again, coming back to connectedness, thank you so much, Anna, for bringing us back to that circle of, it's a friendship. It's a community that we can come together and you can feel safe.
Wow. Mariel, amen to that. Thank you so much. Thank you to all of you, Melissa, Nicola, Robert, Michael. This is just incredible. And in all honesty, this collaboration has grown into so much more than we could have ever imagined when we first started talking about it over a very casual dinner 3 months ago. So thank you, thank you. We're just thrilled to have shared this very important moment and day with you today. So now we have something fun to do. I'll let Brian take over.
Well, we thought we'd finish this beautiful event off with a little bit of hope and positivity and the arts. And this is the piece, Nico, that I absolutely fell in love with, that Anna said, this has to go on the sparkling wine. So here it is.
Thank you.
Pop it and let's say our thank you.
And yeah, I guess this is an official toast. An official toast to this broadcast, an official toast to everyone involved, everyone watching, all of our viewers, all of our sponsors, everyone that stepped up and rose up to the occasion. Cheers, cheers, cheers to all of you. And thank you so much for joining us. I did want to say, I know we've gotten several questions coming in specifically related to the sparkling rosé. It's called Effervescence, and it is on our website, and it is for sale, and a portion of sales are going back to Dead Poets Foundation, as well as a portion of proceeds from each of the wines, Cornell, Margaux, and Hemingway, and everything's available on our website. So please, if you're inclined, go online and purchase, and you'll be supporting the foundation. So cheers. Thank you again.
Thanks, you guys. Yay.